y'all. Welcome back to I am Kylie Montigney, and on today's episode, we're welcoming Caroline Jones. Caroline has accomplished more than most of will in their lifetime, authoring four children's books, presenting a TEDx Talk, even serving as Miss Pennsylvania Volunteer 2022. She's a woman in business and is also pursuing a Master of Science in Organizational Dynamics at UPenn. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. I really
So much for
appreciate
having
you
me.
coming on. I know we had some mix-ups over the last couple of weeks with things, but I'm so happy we were able to do this.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, of course, a lot of people you know you from Miss Pennsylvania Volunteer, but you're currently, of course, a retired pageant holder after a decade competing. But what was, pageant world like, especially in PA? Because of course, every state is different in terms
For
of pageant.
sure. But I mean, the pageant world, it's incredible. It is such a special place that gives young women a opportunity and a platform to promote what we're passionate about. And it is definitely not all glitz and glam. I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions. But in reality, it's all about, helping you develop your confidence and your personal and professional development and your community involvement and volunteerism. So I got to promote my platform, which was the Read to Succeed project, and it was promoting childhood literacy and education, which I absolutely loved.
Oh, me and you have that in common. Oh my gosh. So I am also like love promoting literacy and younger kids. And of course, I'm a big avid reader, so that's part of the reason. I'm
Good.
sure you are as well.
I
But with Mets Pennsylvania Volunteer, like did you like how long was the process to become Miss Pennsylvania Volunteer? Was it a couple months, a couple weeks, or how long was it?
A few months. Well, I mean, a few months, but also a lifetime in a way, because it was something that I was prepping for just throughout my daily life for years and years and years. But I did, start preparing as soon as the organization was announced. I was actually the inaugural Miss Pennsylvania Volunteer title holder, which was really, really special. I won my title in February of 2022. And then, I mean, within 24 hours after the pageant, interviews and appearances and prep for nationals, I dove right in. So it all started, and then I competed that year in May, I believe. So I only had a few months to prep for nationals, and it was a whirlwind of an experience and just absolutely wonderful.
It seems like it because I know with a bunch of people that maybe are running for Miss Pennsylvania, that's the competition's happening in June, which is crazy. Or just running for a regular like a competition, it really sometimes takes people a couple months to actually prepare. And to literally go back to back with Miss Pennsylvania Volunteer and Nationals is something a lot of people it can cause a lot of stress for a lot of people, let's just say.
But it's wonderful at the same time. It definitely is hard work to prep for a pageant. But honestly, the way that I viewed prepping for a pageant was to incorporate, those activities into your daily life. So, making sure you're living a healthy lifestyle and working out, making sure you're doing appearances and community involvement, and all of those little things that you do just in your daily life kind of add up and help you to prepare for the competition itself.
Right? And it's very easy, like going out and volunteering. It's just the littlest things you do to get experience and to help gain for that competition is very easy, whether it's doing something at home or just going out and doing something. It's really the smallest things to help you get prepared.
For sure.
But what, like, has been the most impactful title that you won over the past decade, and how have you kind of benefited from, those titles?
Definitely the winning Miss Pennsylvania Volunteer 2022 was so impactful for me. So the Miss Volunteer America pageant is an organization that, is nationwide and promotes volunteerism. And I truly believe that it celebrates women in all area of our lives. And so that's definitely been my most impactful title, not just because of the title itself and that it was a state title, but because of, the friendships I made, the networking, the confidence, the resilience, and all of that that it entails.
Ooh, that I honestly had a feeling you're gonna say that, but honestly, having a reward just like that, one of the most, recognized in it, and to say I feel like is always the most rewarding than just local, state competitions.
And so many people helped me on the journey to get there, and their support and friendship over the years impacted me in so many ways too. So it definitely, you might hear the phrase in pageantry that it takes a village, and that is so, so true.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, anything is yeah, everyone does is take a village, but especially in pageants, it takes a lot of time and dedication. And it really is, you have to be strong and also dedicated to actually do it though, is
For
also the most
sure.
important thing. But of course, with like being in pageantry, success comes in different ways. Everything comes to your hands in different ways. But what does success mean to you personally?
For me personally, I'm a goal setter and definitely a planner. So in the short term, I kind of define success as, setting the goal and then taking the steps to achieve it and achieving it. But in the long term and bigger picture, I hope to be able to look back on my life and know that it was successful by how I made a positive impact on the world and how I found and then achieved my purpose. So I hope that, however long of a life that I get to live, I could look back and say it was successful because, I did something positive for the world.
I'm honestly the same way. Like, it's honestly such a pet peeve of mine because honestly, with having short-term and long-term goals, there's honestly so many that you can write down to the point where you're just like, if this doesn't happen, I'm gonna lose my mind. But as you get older, no matter like how many years or months you're gonna live, it's just a matter of, okay, like, do I actually like feel happy about this moment? If not, then why did I do it? Like, it's just a matter of looking back to the point where does this thing make it worth it?
Yes, I agree.
But of course, with Miss Pennsylvania Volunteer, you are currently on the board of the Miss Pennsylvania Volunteer pageant. And of course, it's in October of this year, so it's coming up. But how are the ladies preparing for this year's pageant?
Yes. Well, first of all, I love being on the board. I love kind of being on the other side and seeing what goes into creating the pageant, as opposed to just being a contestant. I really love, all aspects of pageantry. But yes, our state pageant is in October. It'll be in Haverford, PA, so right outside of Philly. And right now, we are preparing by recruiting for contestants. So if anyone here is listening and interested in competing, you can look us up on Instagram at Miss PA Vol and you can DM that page and we'll send you an application, or you can just download it directly from our website. And I definitely highly encourage any young woman out here who might be thinking about it to give it a try.
You definitely should. Honestly, so many people have told me to do it, but maybe this pageant will give you some confidence to actually
Maybe,
do it
maybe this
someday.
will be the year.
Definitely. But of course, to talk about children's books, you have written for children's books. Like, do any of these books that you wrote come from your own childhood or the way you kind of grew up?
Yes, definitely. So my first book was called One More Book, Please. And the name of that comes from my childhood, actually, because when I was a child, I would beg my parents every single night to read me One More Book, Please, One More Book, Please. And so that's what I named my first book. But kind of how the whole book story started was probably about over a decade ago, before I started doing pageants, actually, I was volunteering with the United Way of Wyoming Valley and distributing over 5,000 children's books to children in schools and nonprofit agencies throughout the Wilkes-Barre area. And what I found was that some of the children and adults who I was distributing the books to were not able to read. And I was shocked by that experience. And I found my drive and passion to start my platform, the Read to Succeed Project. And since then, I've been able to read my books to tens of thousands of children throughout Pennsylvania, as well as nationally and internationally. And I was even able to give a TEDx talk called Educating Leaders, Changing Futures on teaching kids leadership.
I love that. Like, I know with books, it really teaches many different kids, if not all, different things that you might not learn in school. And it really gives people different confidences to learn something new and also get their reading goal to a different level. And I know that a lot of kids don't know how to learn how to read because they might not have access to so many books. And so with book drives, it honestly is such a massive way for kids to get books, but many times kids don't even have access or maybe the money to get books, even though they love reading. and they try as much as possible to do so, but they might not have had access or even the money to get those books. So is the most important thing.
Yeah, that is very true.
But what, like, with these four books, like, what do these books mean to you personally with writing them?
For me, early childhood literacy is really a predictor of of a child's future success in life. So I really believe that if a child is able to read and read well at an early age, then they have a greater likelihood to succeed later on in life. And so, what I would promote is just to read every day. If you're a parent, make sure you're reading to your kids every day. If you are a kid, definitely, read to your parents, read to your friends. But the more that you read and get good at reading from an early age, then the greater the likelihood that child will, succeed later on.
Yeah, it's so true. Is the early on that you read to kids, the better, and the better it is. And also, like the earlier you do, the kids might love to read, even if they might not take as much on it when they get older. It helps the kids learn and really have access to going to school, and also really acknowledging these things in their head to really, reading books makes kids smarter no matter how many books you're reading. And to really have access to those things, it really helps young kids grow as people to kind of get a better insight on life. And also, just, kind of getting someone else's perspective in their eyes.
Exactly.
But of course, to kind of see would wrap up this episode, what advice do you have for other young women in today's society that kind of want to go into pageants or just, in general?
I have so much advice for young women in today's society. I wasn't sure where to begin, when I knew that you were going to ask me this question, but I have a few thoughts. I would say number one, embrace what makes you you. We're all different and unique and special in our own ways. And so be confident in that and embrace what makes you you. And then my next piece of advice is to find mentors and a support system. Like I said earlier, I would not have been able to succeed alone. I have an incredible network of, people that support me, and I think it's so important to find those people in your life. Number three, speak up for what you believe in, which is definitely easier said than done. But I truly believe that if you're honest and authentic to yourself and you're speaking up for what you believe in, then you'll be happy with that. Number four, never stop learning. I'm so passionate about always learning, even though, I'm not. No, never stop learning is definitely my fourth piece of advice. I'm getting my second master's right now because I'm just so passionate about always learning. Number five, make time for self-care. This was a piece of advice that I wish that I probably received a little bit earlier on in my life. And I think that now today's society is more, aware of the importance of self-care and taking time for yourself. But definitely make sure to be doing that as you're achieving your goals. And then next, support other women. We can all have success, and we definitely should lift each other all up, no matter what, pageant system you're involved in, if you're in pageants, or no matter what, area of your career you're in. We can always lift other women up and support other women. And then last is pursue your passions fearlessly. I believe that, we all have passions and things that we love and enjoy, and pursue them to have a meaningful and exciting life.
You said it all so well. All the things that you said literally is something I personally would say, but I love the one that you brought up, which was make time for self-care. That is something that I wish I learned, like, or was mentioned to me early on, because I'm the type of person that, is always so busy that I barely have time for self-care. And sometimes it really bothers me that I don't. But sometimes making time for self-care is also one important things to how you grow and also how you live life. Is if you don't make time for that, you're gonna become miserable and you just gonna be upset with yourself, and it's just you're just gonna think the worst of the worst. And with
Exactly. You
all
don't want
those
to burn
things,
out.
I know. And so with having these momentums to do in today's society, people often forget these things to the point where you just forget that you're living life as a person, not just your career at the same time, no matter
For
what
sure.
part of your career you are to. And also just to remember those things as a person, because of course you have to make time for yourself besides working so much.
Exactly.
But the last thing I have to ask you is if people want to connect with you in some way, whether it's pageants or to connect and learn more about what you're doing, how can people connect with you?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Caroline Marie Sophia. Um, and that's how you can connect with me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everyone listening. Make sure to connect with Caroline on her socials. I fully recommend. But I really appreciate you coming on and joining us today. I know we've been trying to do this for a hot minute, so
Yes,
I'm
well,
so
I'm glad
happy
that
you were
it
able to
finally
join us.
happened.
Yeah, so that we're able to actually have time to chat for a little bit. But thank you so much, Caroline, for joining us
Of
today. I
course.
really
Thank you
appreciate it.
so much. I think that it's so cool that you do this podcast. And I'm excited to be tuning in now.